Good evening. The 1966 World Cup competition is just 1 week old. And 7 days ago, there were many people in this country doubting whether it would attract spectators to the ground or whether it would justify the coverage planned. In fact, it's been highly successful both on the grounds and at home. Over 658,000 people have watched the games, the 16 games so far, on the grounds. That's more than 250,000 have watched the same 16 games in Chile in 1962. And we just had the television audience figures for the first day's coverage last Monday. That was England-Uruguay, and they reached 19 million people. Well, now, an awful lot of those people are committed, of course, to England winning. We're all hoping for that as well. But here in the studio with me are three people with very special interest in England winning. Three of the wives of the English players. Mrs. Peters, whose husband Martin played his first World Cup game on Saturday. George Cohen's wife here next to me, and Mrs. Jimmy Greaves. Yeah. What kind of a World Cup are you having, Mrs. Greaves?
All right.
And Jimmy, of course, has been away from home for quite a long time, hasn't he?
7 weeks. 4 days and 7 weeks I've seen him.
You've only seen him 4 times in 7 weeks?
Yes.
How's this going down with the children?
Well, they accept it, you know, we're used to it. The boy misses him a bit, but that's all right.
Just moving on to you, Mrs. Cohen. Is it the same for you, 4 times in 7 weeks?
Yes, I think so. Not quite sure, actually. It's spaced out so much, you know. I think it must be about that, yes, only a matter of days anyway.
Actually, I would think you've seen him more on television than you've seen him at home.
Yes, yeah, that's true, yes.
Moving on to you, Mrs. Peters. Martin, of course, played his first match in the World Cup on Saturday night. Were you at Wembley to watch it?
Yes, I was.
Of course, one of the problems for wives is they watch matches and the spectators around them don't know that they're the wives, do they?
No, they don't.
What's it like? What kind of comments do you pick up?
All sorts, really, yeah. You know, nasty remarks and good remarks, but, you know, as long as he keeps in the team, you don't care what other people say, do you, really?
What about from your point of view? I mean, when you're watching a match, do you ever get angry about comments around you?
No, not really, I don't think so. I think sometimes you feel you'd like to say something, which, I mean, you wouldn't, you know, I don't think you'd gain anything by it. It's quite interesting, quite funny sometimes, some of the things that are said, you know.
What kind of things do you pick up?
Well, I don't know what I should say, really. but some, you know, some things are quite nice, you know. People might say he's playing well, or in George's case, because he's quite fast, some might say, oh, he's running well. But of course, other things are said that, as I say, I don't think I could really repeat, you know. I mean, you do get used to them. Some of the nasty things, as Mrs. Peters said, you don't take any notice anymore, you know. I mean, after you've been watching football such a long time.
Well, do you mean to say you're absolutely impervious to criticism? I mean, you know...
I think, well, sometimes, I mean, if it was anything very nasty, I think perhaps you might turn around and say what you thought, but it's never really happened to me. I've never done it. I never plucked up the courage to do it. I think I might one day.
What about you, Mrs. Greaves? I mean, Jimmy, in the last couple of days, for instance, you know, people have been saying, well, he's not been playing too well. Were you at Wembley on Saturday night?
Yes.
Did you hear any comments about Jimmy among the crowd and this kind of thing?
Well, they always have about Jimmy if he doesn't score, you know, this is one of the things, but if he scores, I don't used to say anything.
What's your reaction? I think it was Len Shackleton's wife once, you know, somebody was passing a comment in the crowd in front of her, and I think she walloped the spectator with a handbag.
Oh, I've heard about that before.
Do you ever feel like doing that?
No, not really. You only come down to their level if you do that, don't you? You know.
Tell me, what's it like with Jimmy at home during a period like this? I know he's been away for 4 days, only at home for 4 days, but normally, I mean, players are subject to a great deal of tension and press criticism. How does he react to this kind of comment?
He doesn't have any reaction.
It doesn't affect his confidence in any way at all?
No.
Is that true of George Cohen as well, Mrs. Cohen?
What, that something is said against him, you mean? Do you mean sort of in the papers?
Yes, this kind of thing, yeah.
I don't think he really likes it very much, no. He's sort of, well, I mean, he has to accept it, but I think that it does hurt a bit, yes, really. I don't think he's that hardened.
No.
Not really, you know, I think he realises, of course, everyone's going to have criticism at some time or other, but I think he's a bit soft as far as that sort of thing is concerned, really.
So it does wound a little bit?
I think so, yes, I think so.
What about Martin Peters, Mrs. Peters? How does he react to this kind of thing?
Well, I think you've either got a reporter that's for you or against you. I mean, Martin gets good write-ups from some papers, and he never gets a good write-up off of others. Even if he does play well, it's just one of those things, the reporters are for you or not.
Just a general comment to all of you. I mean, you carry on with your everyday lives and so on. What's it like going out during the World Cup period shopping, Mrs. Greaves? Well, you know, to get much reaction?
Oh, yes. On and on about it all the time.
Well,
are we going to win? And with business, you know, how many goals are you going to score? You know?
You don't get cheaper groceries or anything like that on this thing, is it?
You must
No?
have done.
No, I don't think so, no.
No special treatment?
No.
Now, just moving along the line, as the World Cup's developing and so on, you know, it's quite clear that although many people tipped England to win before the competition started, we've now seen some of the opposition, and it's quite tough. Mrs. Peters, what's your impression? Do you think we can win this?
Well, I hope so, yes. I don't really know that much about football. You know, I watch it for Martin, you know, but, well, I think we should, really.
I think we can, with a bit of luck.
Definitely.
A great deal depends on your old man up front, doesn't it?
As usual.
Well, let's hope, in fact, he can get among the goals, because that's the great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I hope you have a good World Cup for the rest of the period, and that life isn't too trying. Thank you very much indeed. All right, well, let's move on to something else quite different now. There's only one player been sent off in the World Cup so far. That was Jorge Albrecht of Argentina, who was sent off at the match against West Germany on Saturday. It was announced today by the disciplinary committee that he would be suspended for one match only, so he must miss Argentina's next match, which is against Switzerland, either tomorrow night or Wednesday, I'm not quite sure which. But this does take us on to referees. And there's no doubt at all that the refereeing in this competition this time has reached a higher standard than usual. Now, what's behind all this? Let's just hear now as Alan Weeks reports.
One of the most important factors in the smooth running of the World Cup is the interpretation of the laws by referees from many different countries. To ensure that they work uniformly, a briefing meeting is held every day. At 9:30 each morning in a London hotel, England's Ken Aston, referee's liaison officer, takes the chair.
Had to come across to indicate that it was a free kick here. He took up his position here in order not to delay the taking of the free kick. So, the linesman was here, the referee was here, the free kick from here was taken, and it came into a position here, where I believe there was a foul. The referee was here, and because of the players, many of them here, he was unable to see clearly what had happened. Monsieur.
Le coup franc était botté de l'aile droite.
Of the 31 officials, 10 are from the United Kingdom. In all, there are 22 different nationalities, so the interpreter has a full-time job. They all live in this same London hotel, dispersing to matches in the various areas and returning as soon as possible afterwards. Then comes the discussion. They talk about the matches, the fouls, the incidents. Ken Aston, as FIFA's liaison officer, is there to give advice and help. At this particular meeting, referees from 8 countries listened and watched as he emphasized the distinctions between fair and foul.
There is this situation of the charge accompanied by the tackle with the inside leg, and it comes across like that. And if we analyze this, gentlemen, the position, first position there is bodily contact already, and the second part of the movement is in fact it is a push. And we have seen this in some of the games in the World Cup, and it has gone unpenalized. So do be careful with this one.
It's the referee's duty to inspect the 3 footballs issued to each match. He conducts a series of measurement tests, and when he's satisfied, each ball gets his sign of approval. Ken Aston is in charge of the London area, and so far, no match ball has needed replacing.
Okay, good. All right, Jack, let's have the first. See how she's looking. Yes, 15 3/8. Good. Have a look at the pressure. Seem to be playing pretty well, these balls, although it's been a very difficult thing to decide. It seems to have gone very well indeed. Just about right. Good. Sign it. There we are. That's one.
How's the standard of refereeing been so far, Ken?
Very well pleased with it. Very well pleased indeed. We think it's been excellent. Certainly there have been no untoward incidents in this World Cup.
Do you think the standard can be raised at all, or will raise during the course of the competition?
I think it is likely to be raised continually because of these morning conferences that we are having. There's a great spirit among these chaps that they want to conform, they want to be with each other the whole time, and they're going out on the field as teams. They start as a team here, they're going out as teams, and this is important.
How does this compare with previous World Cups?
I can't think of one that has run any smoother from the control point of view than this one so far, and fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
By the way, at the start of the programme, I told you about the number of people watching the World Cup this time, a record figure. In fact, the biggest number of overseas visitors comes from Germany. And one of the reasons that there are so many Germans here is partly the success of the Germans last week when they beat the Swiss 5-0. A great number of people followed them. Let's have a closer look now at the West Germans with Danny Blanchard.
It's a tricky drive to find the German training camp. Well off the beaten football tracks, 54 miles from Villa Park and 33 from Hillsborough, it lies in a Bavarian-like setting in the Derbyshire Peak District. Local gossip says that the Peveril of the Peak Hotel was once the home of William Peveril, an illegitimate son of William the Conqueror. One of many Peverils, he was known as the Peveril of the Peak District. It's not such an isolated camp as the German advance party who chose it back in January might have expected. Their own enthusiastic fans have followed, and the locals have turned out in large numbers to watch the players at practice. The German party represents a wholesome and healthy football society. Previous German teams were semi-professionals. These are the new full-time ones, a product of the new German National League that was formed 3 years ago out of 5 regional competitions. After 10 years of argument, 44 clubs finally applied for 16 places. Each club's character was carefully studied, their record over 12 years taken into account, and then the league was launched. It's now 18 strong, and it's helping young German players to mature more quickly. This is the youngest German team to compete in a World Cup, their average age being just over 25. The present team claims to be just the opposite of the popular belief that all German teams are panzer divisions. Such is their love of the ball, I was told, that we have to persuade them that physical strength is sometimes a necessity. There are no political splits in German soccer. The Football Association governs the league, and the players' wages are controlled. They get about £100 a month, plus £20 each game as appearance money. A club can apply for the association's approval to pay a player more with his growing international stature. Sealer here, one of the best, earns about £4,000 a year. In 1964, Helmut Schön took over as team manager when Sepp Herberger retired after 30 years' service. The German team had prepared well for the World Cup, playing 1 game a month since last January, and they looked really good against the Swiss.
The boys are okay. The boys are okay. The boys from Germany. The boys from Germany.
It became apparent that the Germans had 2 teams. The one they sent to do duty on the field, and the other, the reserves, that they sent to all the banquets along with their officials. They are popular guests. They have been entertained at the Birmingham City Police Club, and they went to a reception at the Birmingham Town Hall, along with all the other teams taking part in the Midlands group. Their second match of the series with Argentina promised to be an exceptional game, but it didn't live up to those expectations.
Quite a show, but the game wasn't very good. I think it was rather like England versus Uruguay, who are a steel defense, you see, and the forwards, well, lame, rather lame. I think the German side wasn't so good yesterday. They played like the Chinese Navy.
The Chinese Navy were back at work next morning, a few cuts and bruises, but no apparent setback in morale. They have been a little overrated after their Swiss holiday, but it would be silly now to underrate them. Helmut Schön and their press officer, Dr. Gerhardt, showed a proper sense of proportion when I questioned them. After your victory over Switzerland, many people were tipping you to win the World Cup. Now you've had a disappointing game with Argentina. Has this been a setback to your own morale?
No, I think that is
Yes, I think it helps our morale.
It helps our morale.
You see, their optimism before the Argentinian match was as unjustified as their depression is now. We were always very realistic about it. We did not have any delusions about what we could do, and we think our position is unchanged. And our chances are not impaired by this result.
Yeah, but what do you think your chances are?
We still hope to qualify first in this group.
First or second in our group.
Do you think you'll win the World Cup?
No, we think we try to be first or second in our group, and then we shall see.
We are thinking in terms of the quarterfinals, actually. After that, if we make up our plans as we go along.
One thing is quite clear about this World Cup. The European teams are not enjoying playing the South Americans. South American teams that defend, like Argentina, Uruguay and Mexico, and none of the European teams so far seem to be able to break down this defensive pattern. Well, now let's move on to something else, and that is the situation in the northeast. The area which has been rather neglected in some ways because they've got the worst possible group. Here now, reporting from there, is Frank Boff.
Ayresome Park, Middlesbrough, built specially for the World Cup competition. Empty now on this non-match day at the beginning of the second week of the World Cup. But in fact, if you've been watching our transmissions from Ayresome Park, you'll have noticed that the new stand has also been virtually empty during the matches that have been played here. Middlesbrough came into the World Cup stakes at a late stage when Newcastle couldn't guarantee to improve their ground facilities, and they've made strenuous and very successful efforts to create the right festive atmosphere. Teesside is no longer the gastronomic desert of the north, as Egan Ronay once described it. There are plenty of good restaurants, and if you so wish, on match nights here, you can drink continuously for 36 hours. Club life and entertainment generally is enjoying a boom, and to coincide with the World Cup, the area has organised an international Eisteddfod. All has been done that could be done. Why is it then that the World Cup has become such a non-event here?
The fans came to the first match at Middlesbrough mainly to see the North Koreans who had been drawn here for their 3 matches to see how the North Koreans played. They played fairly poorly, so the fans thought, well, this is it.
I went on a Tuesday night match. I had tickets for the Friday night match. But after the performance I've seen on Tuesday night, I give me a Friday night ticket away. I wouldn't go.
Why not?
Well, tripe.
On the whole, I think we've had a raw deal, like. Television give a better coverage of the other games, and for me, I'd rather seen if we'd had another European team up here, besides Russia, somewhere like West Germany or some team like that.
Let's be fair about this. We've had really the minnows up here, apart from Russia and Italy.
The football hasn't been too good, you know. But on the whole, I think it's been a huge success. If we had stronger teams here, I think we'd get 30 to 40,000.
I think it's come out rather unfair when you're such a team as Scotland haven't really got into it. And Czechoslovakia and Poland, they're not even into it. And as for Korea, I don't think they're physically built, really, to compete in it. Although they're nice to watch, I'll agree, but not my style of football.
But I'm very disappointed in Russia and Chile.
If there had been better teams selected to play here, they'd have had far better support all the way around.
At Sunderland, the attendances have been better, over 30,000, largely because of the Italians. The team itself is more of a draw than the other 3, and it's the only side in the group with any measure of its own national support. This, at least, has lent a more Latin atmosphere to the games at Roker. Tomorrow, the Italians play their first and only match in Middlesbrough against Korea. With local support strongly behind the Koreans, and with the Italians to shout for their own, Teesside is hoping for at least one worthwhile memory of the 1966 World Cup.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. They've been a bit unlucky up there to get that particular group. Well, now let's have a look at the number of goals scored so far in this competition, and it's rather interesting to make comparisons with previous years. There's no doubt at all that football at this level is becoming more and more defensive. In 1958, in Sweden, 54 goals had been scored after 16 games in the competition. By 1962, the figure had dropped to 45. And this year now, after 16 games again, only 39 have been scored. Well, players' reactions when they score a goal really are quite remarkable. And it's rather interesting, isn't it, that over the years in this country, professional footballers have been heavily criticised by members of the public for their reactions, you know, all this kissing and cuddling lark and so on. Just before we develop wider aspects of the World Cup, here in the studio, just to make a comment or two about just that subject, a couple of characters who are professional footballers themselves. one who manages now, Jimmy Hill, and Johnny Haynes, the former England captain, and some overseas opinion as well. Dr. Knud Lundberg from Denmark, former Danish international, now a Danish journalist, and Jean Eskenazi, sports editor of a French newspaper. Mr. Eskenazi, in fact, in this country, there's been a great deal of criticism, you know, for players' reaction when a goal's scored, kissing and cuddling. General members of the public don't like it. Do you think this is a particularly English thing, or...?
Everywhere. It's worse in so many countries. In South America, it's like a triumph in the old Roma, you know? Oh, I like that. I think we saw so few goals that when we see one, we're happy that the players too are happy, you know?
You don't object to it personally?
No.
All part of the colour of the game,
no,
isn't it? No. Jimmy Hill, what about you? What's your reaction? Actually, I would have thought you were the least kissable player in the game.
I wouldn't say that. Just a bit. But personally, when I used to score, it was so infrequent that I used to go quite wild when I was playing. But I reckon that this emotion is a natural thing. And I would much rather see players express emotion, especially when some of them have been training for 2 years for the World Cup when they score a goal, than suppress it and become unnatural. I personally don't like the kissing. I don't think many Englishmen do, but we must accept that in other countries this is not untoward. I prefer to leave kissing until after the match and then, if possible, with a member of the opposite sex.
You're dodging this a little bit, Jimmy, because it happens in the English League as well, let's face it. I mean, do you object to it in the English League? Yeah?
I don't like it, but I don't moan about it. I'm not one of those who looks upon it sourly. I must be getting a little old-fashioned here, because everything else, if they jump about and all over each other. Even the Russians did it, and that was wonderful. I went straight home and sold my fallout shelter because I thought they'd become human.
Dr. Lundberg.
Yes, I think if you are looking at football all over Europe, you will see these things going on everywhere. And, well, if they are natural to you, it may be to people from the south. And especially when you think it over, such a goal every Sunday means small or larger fortune for each player and all his friends. So that a goal and during the match will perhaps all the friends will be very glad that he made that goal and come on to him and kiss him for all the money he earned for it.
Actually, I've heard that story before. In fact, the players don't kiss each other. They're whispering that's so much more in the bank. How do you enjoy being kissed on a football field, John?
Not very much by Jimmy, but I don't score very often here. Actually, I think it's a natural thing as far as players are concerned, especially in the World Cup. I mean, these players have come a long, long way to play in this tournament, and as Jimmy said, even the Russians, I've never seen them do it before, but the first goal they scored against North Korea, they got very excited about it. I think it's natural.
Now, moving back onto you, Mr. Eskenazi, England's organisation of the World Cup and the success so far, I've seen you all over the world at sporting events. How do you rate the organisation here and the way it's gone?
For me, it's all right. Above all, something wonderful, the quality of the spectators. I see no country in the world who have so good spectators that you have in England. And so we have in every stadium a pure ambience, atmosphere of football. Your spectators know the game. They whistle when they must whistle, when the game is rough. But one thing, they understand the player, what the players try to do, you know. And for instance, I was speaking with many players, they say, it's really, you are a great country of football. You know too, the football. And I think with such a spectator, such a crowd, you can have very soon a very good English team.
Johnny, not all English footballers would agree with Mr. Eskenazi that spectators understand the game in this country. In fact, that's their great criticism of spectators here, isn't it?
Well, they've had it previously, David, but I think there can be no complaints this time. In both matches they've had at Wembley, they've had fantastic support from the crowd. They've been right behind them all the time, and I think this makes a big difference to them. You know, I mean, I think if they find that they've got them behind them right from the start, not just when they get in front, I think they'll go on, and this can play an important part in the World Cup and help them very much indeed.
Dr. Lundberg, do you think that the English spectator really has come along with modern football, that he's got a fair understanding now of what the game's about? I mean, in many ways, our game trailed behind the rest of the world for a short time. Do you think our spectators have caught up as well?
I think so. I think we all are. As a matter of fact, every time we see a game, we see here at this tournament, we see new things that we don't quite understand until now, and perhaps not even when this World Cup has finished. So that, of course, the spectators must lag behind too, but I do believe that in this country they are lagging behind less than they would everywhere else.
Jimmy?
I think one of the reasons the spectators have been particularly good is they're not quite as involved. Although they've taken sides, up in Middlesbrough they cheer the North Koreans and in Liverpool they cheer the Hungarians, deep down they're not as committed as a Chelsea supporter watching a Chelsea team. And I think it enables them to be more objective and fair-minded, and they go looking for good football. And I must admit that point was a very good one. Whenever I've seen good football, the crowd have appreciated it in the tournament.
Just onto the competition itself, we've just got about a minute left. Jimmy, which team has impressed you the most? Do you think England, you know, after reflection over the weekend, thinking about their match on Saturday night, do you think England have got a real chance anymore, or having seen the Hungarians, the Brazilians and so on, how do you think?
I think England have had a chance all the while. I rate England, West Germany and Russia in a similar kind of group. You know, European countries, strong defence, who might get the forward power.
Mr. Eskenazi, what about you?
I think England's beginning slow, very slowly. It's a good thing for England because we must finish, you know. All the team we starved too quickly, perhaps like Germany, perhaps will not have something to finish.
Dr. Lundberg?
Well, it may be that the Hungarians will get into the picture, but I really do believe that 5 or 6 or 7 of these nations, if they are lucky enough, can win it, because there are so few goals, so that it will be done easily.
John, you believe in England still, don't you?
Definitely England, yes.
Thank you very much indeed. So there we are, the end of our World Cup report for tonight. We're back on the air tomorrow at 4:15 with the live match that's been playing tomorrow afternoon at Wembley. So we'll be reporting from Wembley. These are tomorrow's matches. Just to remind you, till 4:15, goodbye.